All right. So you sent over a whole stack of articles here about Donald Trump's sentencing.
Yeah.
And wow, um,
This is a big one.
it is a big one. I mean, he's about to be sworn in as president again, right? The
Well,
second term.
the second term.
And he's just been convicted of a felony.
Uh-huh.
I mean, have we ever seen anything like this before?
Never in the history of the United States.
Okay, so
It's totally unprecedented.
unprecedented.
Yeah, we're in uncharted legal waters here.
Yeah.
A president-elect
Yeah.
as a convicted felon.
As a convicted felon.
I mean, this is going to be really fascinating to unpack.
Absolutely. And we've got coverage of this from everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, CNN, Fox News,
Oh, yeah?
The Guardian,
It's international.
even Al Jazeera.
Wow.
Everyone is trying to make sense of this.
Yeah.
So, I guess for those who may need like a super quick refresher,
Yeah.
Trump was found guilty back in May
Of 2024.
of 2024
Yeah.
on 34 felony counts.
That's right.
And all of this stems from those hush money payments that were made to Stormy Daniels
Right.
during the 2016 campaign. Exactly. Okay, so we have a guilty verdict.
We do.
But then we come to this head scratcher of a sentence.
Yeah.
Unconditional discharge.
Unconditional discharge.
What does that even mean?
So basically, it means no jail time,
Okay.
no fines,
Okay.
no probation.
Wow.
Essentially, what Judge Merchant is saying is you're guilty, but you're free to go.
So he acknowledged, I mean, we all know that Trump has perhaps become the most powerful person in the country.
Yeah.
And Judge Merchant even stated that this fact trumps all other considerations.
Right.
So it's almost like the presidency itself is like some kind of legal shield.
That's one way to interpret it, for
Yeah.
sure. And it brings up all sorts of questions about the balance of power.
Right.
And, does the presidency really place someone above the law?
Yeah.
Right. These are huge questions.
Big questions.
Yeah.
And of course, Trump is not just going to like accept this quietly.
Mm-hmm. No, of course not.
He's already calling it a politically motivated witch hunt.
A classic.
And he's vowing to appeal,
As he should.
which, just adds another layer of complexity to all of this.
Exactly. And if you think back to past presidential scandals,
Yeah.
even the appeals process itself
Yeah.
could become a major political battle,
Oh, absolutely.
maybe out in the courts and potentially even reaching the Supreme Court.
Right.
And just imagine all the wrangling over executive privilege and presidential immunity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this could go on for years.
Years.
Yeah.
Speaking of, legal battles,
Yeah.
I was struck by how the prosecutors in this case seemed to be almost walking on eggshells.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they recommended no jail time,
Right.
but then they kept emphasizing how serious Trump's actions were
Right.
and the potential damage to the public trust in the justice system.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost as if they were trying to thread a needle.
Right.
On the one hand, they have to uphold the law
Sure.
and hold a convicted individual accountable. But on the other hand, you're dealing with a president-elect.
Yeah.
A very unusual situation.
Yeah, it's unprecedented.
It highlights just how unprecedented this case really is.
And of course, you've got reactions pouring in from all sides.
Oh, yeah, from all over the place.
You've got Trump supporters echoing his witch hunt claims,
Mm-hmm.
and then his opponents who are very deeply concerned about the implications for accountability
Yeah.
and the future of democracy itself.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like this case has become a Rorschach test
Yeah.
for people's views on Trump
Yeah.
and the state of American politics.
Yeah.
You can practically predict someone's reaction
Uh-huh.
just based on their existing beliefs.
Okay, so we've got the big picture,
We do.
but let's dive into some of the details.
Let's do it.
There are a few things that really jumped out at me when I was reading through these articles.
Okay.
First, Judge Merchant's closing remark to Trump.
Oh, yeah.
He wished him Godspeed
He did.
as he takes office.
I know.
It's such a strange thing to say to someone.
Yeah.
You just convicted of a felony.
I mean, it's definitely not your typical courtroom farewell.
No.
It could be interpreted as just a formality or
Oh,
a
yeah.
subtle jab,
Yeah.
or even maybe like a genuine expression of goodwill,
Yeah.
despite the circumstances.
Yeah, it's a detail that really makes you think.
It really does.
And then there's the Supreme Court's 5-4 decision against Trump's request for a delay.
Oh, right.
And 2 conservative justices actually sided with the liberal bloc on that one.
Interesting.
So does this signal that even the Supreme Court
Mm-hmm.
might not be willing to give Trump unlimited leeway?
Well, it's certainly something to watch.
Yeah.
It suggests that there may be limits
Sure.
to how far the court will go
Yeah?
to shield Trump from legal scrutiny,
Yeah.
which could have huge implications down the line.
Down the line.
Yeah.
And then there's Trump himself
Yeah.
appearing virtually.
Virtually.
He delivered his usual attack on the case
Of course.
and maintained his innocence. But he seemed a bit subdued this time around.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it was the weight of the conviction.
Maybe.
Or maybe he's just trying to project a more presidential image
Could be.
with the inauguration looming.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's just tired.
Maybe.
But, you know,
I mean,
whatever the reason,
yeah,
his tone and his demeanor were definitely worth noting.
for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like we're trying to read between the lines here.
Totally. And then you've got the prosecutor's tightrope walk,
Oh, yeah.
trying to uphold the law
Right.
while respecting the office of the presidency.
Exactly.
While also trying to maintain the public faith in the system.
Right.
I mean, talk about a tough spot.
Talk about a tough spot. You can really see how much they're struggling to balance all of those competing demands.
Yeah.
And no matter what they do, they're likely to face criticism
Oh, yeah.
from one side or the other.
From both sides, probably.
Probably.
And
Yeah.
finally,
Hmm.
I thought Al Jazeera's perspective on all of this was really interesting. They highlighted how this sentencing is being viewed internationally
Okay.
and what it might mean for America's global reputation.
Yeah, it's not just a domestic issue.
No, it's not.
It really makes you realize the global ripple effects of this whole case.
Absolutely.
I mean, the world is watching, and,
Yeah.
you know, this could have a real impact
Yeah.
on America's standing as a defender of democracy and the rule of law.
Right. It raises all sorts of questions about how other countries might perceive the U.S. and its leadership going forward.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to digest.
A lot.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've got a president-elect entering office with a felony conviction.
Yeah,
I mean, that's completely unprecedented.
totally.
It raises questions about the balance of power,
Mm-hmm.
the integrity of the justice system,
Yeah,
and even America's place in the world.
big questions.
Where do we even go from here?
I don't know. Where do we go from here?
I don't know either.
Well, I think it's clear that this conviction is going to be like a defining factor of Trump's second term.
I think so, too.
You
Yeah.
know, every decision he makes,
Yeah.
every policy he pursues, every appointment,
Right.
it's all going to be seen through the lens of this conviction.
It's a shadow that's not going away.
No, it's not going away anytime soon.
And what about the practical implications of all this?
Yeah.
Will this hinder his ability to govern effectively?
Well,
Could it embolden his political opponents?
um,
There are just so many unknowns swirling around this situation.
there are a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
But one thing I think we can look at is like the potential for conflicts of interest.
Okay.
You know, Trump's going to be appointing his own legal team,
Right.
and some of those individuals may have been involved in his defense during this very case.
Yeah.
It creates a very tangled web.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it blurs the lines between personal legal matters
Yeah.
and the responsibilities of the presidency. Right. So it raises these questions about whether the justice system can truly function independently when the person at the top have a personal stake in the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it feeds into this perception
Right.
that the system is rigged
Yeah.
in favor of the powerful,
Right.
which just further erodes public trust in institutions.
Right.
And, you know, in a democracy,
Yeah.
public trust is everything.
Yeah. And it also makes you wonder if this will just deepen the political divides in the country.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
you already have people on opposite sides viewing this case completely differently.
Totally. And that's a real danger here.
Yeah.
You know, if people can't even agree on basic facts or
Yeah.
the legitimacy of the legal process, it
Yeah.
becomes very difficult to have like a productive national conversation
Oh, absolutely.
about anything,
Yeah.
let alone complex issues like justice and accountability.
Right. Okay. So we've talked about like the potential downsides.
But are there any arguments to be made that this situation could actually be a positive thing for the country?
Well,
I mean, some might say that the fact that Trump was convicted at all,
yeah.
even with a lenient sentence,
Right.
shows that no one is above the law,
That's a valid point for sure.
right?
It does demonstrate that the legal system went through its proper channels.
Huh.
A jury reached a verdict.
Yep.
A judge imposed a sentence.
Okay.
And even a president-elect wasn't exempt from that process.
Right.
So in a way, it could be seen as like a reaffirmation
Okay.
of the rule of law,
Yeah.
even if the outcome wasn't what a lot of people expected.
So maybe it's not as black and white as it seems.
Right.
Maybe there's some like little glimmers of hope
Perhaps.
amidst all this uncertainty.
Yeah, it's important to remember
Yeah.
that we're still in the very early stages
Okay.
of this saga.
Yeah.
The appeals process is going to play out, and
Okay.
we'll see how it all unfolds.
It reminds me of something you said earlier. This isn't the end of the story.
Yeah.
Just a chapter break.
Exactly. Now, before we get too lost in speculation about the future,
Yeah.
you mentioned that there were some other details from the articles that kind of caught your eye.
Yeah.
What else struck you as particularly interesting?
Well, I was reading about all these other legal troubles
Right.
that Trump was facing.
Uh-huh.
You know, the classified documents,
Yep.
the 2020 election interference,
Yeah.
and then those charges in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
But now that he's president-elect again,
Right.
it seems like all those cases have just vanished.
Ah, yes. So those other cases are a crucial part of this story.
Yeah.
What happened was the federal cases,
Okay.
the ones involving the classified documents and the 2020 election,
Right.
they've been dismissed.
They've been dismissed.
Yeah. And special counsel Jack Smith, who was leading those investigations,
Right.
he requested the dismissals.
So does that mean that Trump was exonerated in those cases?
Yes. Not quite. The dismissals are based on a Justice Department policy that prevents the indictment of a sitting president.
So it's not about innocence or guilt.
No.
It's about a legal technicality
Yeah.
because of his presidential status.
Exactly. And this is a long-standing legal precedent,
Okay.
but one that will undoubtedly be debated
Yeah.
and challenged in the years to come.
Yeah.
For now, though,
Yeah.
those federal charges are off the table.
Off the table. Okay. And what about that Georgia case?
Right.
Wasn't that a state-level indictment?
Yes, it was.
Separate from the federal cases?
You're right. That one is a bit different.
Sure.
So Trump was charged in Fulton County
Okay.
with trying to overturn the state's 2020 election results.
Right.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, he even had his mugshot taken,
Right.
which was a first for a former president.
Yeah, I remember that.
But that case has been hit with some major roadblocks.
Yeah, I remember reading about that.
Yeah.
Didn't the lead prosecutor, Fani Willis, get removed from the case?
She did.
Okay.
A Georgia appeals court disqualified her
Wow.
due to allegations of a conflict of interest
Okay.
stemming from like a personal relationship with another prosecutor
I see.
on the case.
So it sounds like that whole case is in limbo now?
For now, yes. It's possible that a new prosecutor will be appointed
Uh-huh.
and the case will move forward.
Okay.
But it's also possible it'll be dropped altogether.
Wow.
It's a very fluid situation.
It's incredible how quickly things can shift in the legal
Oh,
world.
It is.
1 minute you're facing multiple criminal charges,
Right.
and the next you're back in the Oval Office with a seemingly clean slate
At least for the time being.
for the time being. Yeah.
Yeah, it really highlights the complexities of power
Yeah.
and the challenges of holding even the most powerful individuals accountable.
Absolutely.
You know, it also raises questions about the fairness
Yeah.
and consistency of the justice system itself.
You know, looking at all of this, it's hard not to feel like we're in uncharted territory as a country.
Totally.
We've got a convicted felon about to be sworn in as president.
Right.
Federal charges have disappeared.
Yeah.
A state case is hanging by a thread.
Right.
It's almost too much to process.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, it really makes you wonder, what does all of this mean for America,
Yeah.
for its institutions, for its people?
Right.
Where do we even begin to unpack the implications of something like this?
Yeah, it's a question that's going to be debated for years to come.
Mm.
You know, does this erode faith in the justice system?
Right.
Or does it, in some strange way, actually reinforce it by showing that even a president-elect can be held accountable?
Right.
And how will all of this impact Trump's presidency?
Yeah.
His policies, his ability to, like, appoint judges and officials?
Yeah.
These are questions we just don't have the answers to yet.
And what about America's image on the world stage?
Yeah.
We saw how Al Jazeera presented this story, highlighting the international attention and, you know, the potential damage to America's reputation.
Right.
How can the U.S. be this beacon of democracy and the rule of law when its leader is a convicted felon?
It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
And it's one that the Biden administration is going to have to navigate very carefully.
Right.
You know, other countries are watching.
Yeah.
And this case could be seen as a sign of hypocrisy
Yeah.
or weakness.
Uh-huh.
You know, it could potentially impact diplomatic relations,
Yeah.
trade agreements, even military alliances.
Wow.
It's hard to say for sure what the long-term consequences will be, but
Yeah.
it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
So it feels like with this unconditional discharge,
Yeah.
we're not at the end of the story,
No,
but rather at the beginning of a really crucial turning point.
I think so.
It's like there's this giant question mark
Yeah,
hanging over the future of American politics.
exactly. It's a chapter break, not the final page. And as we move forward, I think it's crucial for all of us as citizens to
Yeah.
really engage in a thoughtful dialogue about what all of this means for our country.
Right.
We need to talk about the balance of power, the
Okay.
role of the justice system,
Mhm.
and the importance of holding our leaders accountable.
It's a reminder that democracy is not a spectator sport.
No.
We can't just sit back and watch this unfold.
Right.
We need to stay informed,
Absolutely.
engage in critical thinking,
Yes.
and make our voices heard.
Make your voice heard. And I think maybe the most important question to ask yourself is this.
Okay.
What does this historic moment mean for you?
Yeah.
How does it challenge your own assumptions about justice,
Right.
about power,
Yeah.
about the future of American democracy?
Well, this deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about.
It has.
There are no easy answers here.
No.
But by examining the facts,
Yeah.
exploring different perspectives,
Right.
engaging in thoughtful discussion, we could hopefully navigate this uncharted territory together.
Together, that's the key. And remember,
Yeah.
the journey of understanding continues.
Right.
There's always more to learn,
Yeah.
more perspectives to consider, more nuances to uncover.
Okay.
Keep asking questions,
Keep asking.
keep seeking knowledge, and keep diving deep.
That's what we do.